Just recapping that game, obviously didn't do enough on our end to give our team a chance to win. Gave up too many points. Got to be better situationally. That's me first, coaching it better than what we did last week, obviously, and we gotta execute at a little bit higher level, and that comes down to me as well, coaching it and calling it a little bit better, and excited about getting back in the lab with the guys and making the corrections, and we're gonna learn from this game and be better for it, and on to New Orleans.
So the 3rd and 30. What was the call? What was the breakdown there?
Yeah, it's me. I got to do a better job of coaching what I want out of that call. I'm not going to get into specifics of the call, but I like the call. But I just looking back at it, I got to do a better job of putting our guys in position to make that play and get off the field, because you can't give up a 3rd and 30. That was a play in that game that I felt like was a little bit of a tipping point when we let them convert and then they scored that drive. That hurts the ball club. So. Got to do a better job myself.
Was disguise involved in the call?
There's always disguise in every call, depending on what the situation, the down and distance, everything like that. But ultimately, it falls on me, and got to get our guys in better position to make that play.
And when you're in dime there, and TJ's not on the field, what are sort of the mechanics of getting the call in?
Yeah, so TJ a lot of the times will just tell him the call before he comes out of the game. And then we also have a wristband for that, because, we don't have a green dot in. So that's something that we looked at evaluating. Hey, can we make it a little bit easier and quicker for our players, especially, that wasn't a tempo play, but sometimes they go tempo, and I like to get dime on the field. So just I learned a good deal from that game with how we want to move going forward, and we'll be better because of it.
It seemed like the communication on the back end wasn't up to what it typically is. Do you think that's fair? And do you think that was some of the issues?
Yeah, I mean, anytime, you give up explosive passes and, situationally conversions on 3rd down like we did, it always falls on me to coach that a little bit better and put our guys in better spots. And then, for our guys to know exactly where their eyes have to be, what technique, what calls they got to make pre-snap and post-snap, and just function at a little bit better level to do what we've been doing and really playing good pass defense and known pass. And, it was a good learning experience for us.
How much did losing DeVonta Smith change the way you called the game as well?
A little bit. I probably could have got to some different calls when he did go out. I thought he was playing extremely well, but we always we feel comfortable anyone that's out there in the spots that they're in, like we always talk about. If you got a jersey and you're playing, we feel good about you. So, Josiah has played really good ball for us when Avante's been out a couple times this year. So when we set up the game plan, you always have, hey, here's who our guys are playing, here's who their guys are playing. And then you have to adjust that in game as it gets going if you lose people or they lose people or what they're trying to do. So we'll have a good plan moving forward.
When you mentioned you want to coach what you want on that 3rd and 30 better, how much does having the backup nickel in there affect that?
It affects everybody that's up, because they all got to know it. So I think that, everybody that's out there playing has to know what we want out of every call. So that ultimately falls on me.
Not to played a lot of nickel or slot with New Orleans, of course, but here he's a pretty much different safety. How comfortable are you with him playing more as like a full-time role in that slot spot if DeVonta's out for an extension?
Yeah, when Chauncey's ready to get back and play, we'll evaluate who's up and who's down and what our guys can do, and try to set up the game plan and put our guys in the best spots to play winning football for us. So. That's one of the reasons we like versatile players, because the more you can do, typically the better. So we have a very versatile room, and we'll make that decision as we get going.
In terms of the chess match of putting the game plan together and what they were showing, what you were showing, how much do you think it was on your mind or a factor that you might see this team again, in like 4 weeks?
Honestly, not much. That's a good question, Bo. I mean, I'm at where my feet are at, and we're trying to win a game, and I don't look ahead, I don't look behind. So we're trying to do the best job that we could do to win that game on Christmas Eve, and obviously we fell short. So give them credit, because they made some good plays and they're a good offense, but we got to do better to give ourselves a chance to win.
When you give up a 3rd and 30, what effect does that have on the guys, on the coaches, on the players? Did you see guys hanging their heads? How did they
No,
respond?
that's a good question. You know, we're a resilient group and we stay connected, and we've done that through the whole year. We did that last year. That's kind of a tribute to the football character, the people that are out there playing. With me, I'm literally off of it in a second, you know, because I'm thinking about, okay, now first down. So I think if you don't have good leadership and they're not psychologically prepped for, you know, to get hit in the face every so often, and how do you respond to that, then it's gonna be tough to get over. But you know, even when we came off there, I was very proud of our group. You know, we're ready to go back out there and put the ball out, and let's play. So I never look at, you know, certain things that go on in a game, bad or good. It's always on to the next play, and our guys have done a really good job with that.
What have you noticed out of CJ over the last few weeks as he's been down? And do you get a sense that he's going to need to kind of ramp up physically when he gets back on the field, or just kind of?
Yeah, that's a better question for the head coach and Tom, you know, our head medical guy. But you know, I think he's doing as much as he can do to get ready to go, and when he's ready to go, he'll be ready to go.
Nick was explaining yesterday when the numbers, someone had put up numbers about Dak versus the zone. He was explaining, obviously, when matchup zones, you know, you're playing using man principles, et cetera. You know, is that pretty much the norm for most defensive coordinators nowadays? And the matchup zones, how much, you know, is involved in terms of the player communication and football IQ, and is it much more strenuous on players having to know that?
It's a good question, Jeff. Yeah, I don't know that any stats that get put up, but you know, we're a defense that does multiple things to defend people. So there's always going to be elements of what looks like zone when we're playing zone. When it looks like zone, we're playing man. When it looks like man, we're playing zone to one side and man to another side. I think that's pretty common around the league. Some guys live in the world of man or pure zone, which that's a way you can go. But ultimately, it doesn't matter, in my opinion, you know, what calls are being called. You got to teach it and coach it the right way, and then have the players be able to function at a high level with execution. And it always starts with coaching, and we've done a good job with that. But you know, this last game, we weren't as clean as we needed to be to win. So. Looking forward to get back in the lab tomorrow with those guys and getting back on the horse.
Does it complicate things for the defense when you have a receiver that can move from outside to inside, vice versa, kind of seamlessly, like Lamb?
That's a good question. Honestly, not, because that's the NFL game today. You know, when typically guys have really good receivers, they move them around. And then you just got to play the calls accordingly and have a plan for knowing when he's aligned in certain spots, what he likes to do. So there's always, you know, that goes into game planning and it goes into the calls. And, you know, you might have a call and say, hey, this is how we're playing it. But if this guy's here, we're changing it, or this is how we need to adjust and play it. So that goes into basically every game. I mean, this game with New Orleans is no different with people that they have, you know. So you got to always know your opponent's skill set and how they're trying to use people, deploy them, how they use them, and, you know, how they're ultimately trying to get their best players the ball.
In this matchup, I know you saw it last year, but how much of a headache is the Taysom Hill stuff?
Yeah, it's different because he didn't play against us, I think, last year. You know, he plays a lot of positions. We were just talking about it. He plays quarterback, tight end, receiver, running back. He does it all. So that goes into John's question. When he's playing certain spots, we have to know that, hey, this is what they like to do with him. This is why he's a matchup issue for defenses if you allow it to be. And we have to have a good plan for him when they deploy him in different ways. So that's one of their it makes this offense hard to defend because of how they use certain players that they have at their disposal. So we got a big-time challenge, and we got to be on it.
JG, obviously the turnovers have not, the takeaways haven't been at the same rate as early in the year. Obviously part of that CJ, but do you see any other trends there? Any other reason those have dried up?
Yeah, I mean, a couple, things that what we always show our players, you know, if it's, you know, and it comes back to the teaching of conceptually teaching, you know, you win your leverage a little bit better here, you might have a chance for it. Or if we're at 14 yards and instead of 12 yards, you might have a better chance for it because your angle's a little bit better. So that's always a blend of, you know, you never know how the game's going to kind of go, you know, and typically good offenses don't give you a bunch of chances to take the ball away, but we got to continue to take the ball away because we know that's a winning stat. And, I always say they come in bunches, and we haven't been taken away at a high clip as we were early in the year, but I think we'll get back to it.
You guys are on pace for to set a franchise mark for sacks. I know you don't typically call that a winning stat. For instance, you had 6.
In and of itself, I think I should clarify that.
In accomplishing that feat?
Yeah, there's always pride in being the best at what you do. I think, and that's why, that's a good question, Jeff, because it's like, they're not a winning stat in and of itself, but affecting the quarterback is a winning stat, and that's one way that you can affect the quarterback, and our guys have done a really good job with that, and that helps our ball club. I mean, that's, if, you can look at the game, the Dallas game, and some of those sacks led to known pass and some downs that, we got to do a better job of winning in those downs. I'm prideful of any time we're high in certain stats, and it's really a testament to the players of staying connected, doing their job, other guys doing their job that allows those guys to get sacks and do that, and along with some really good individual performances too. So,
what concerns you most about the Saints offense?
versatility, Merrill. They got some weapons that how they deploy people different ways, and you got to be on with Taysom, Kamara. The quarterback's playing pretty good. They have a lot of versatility, and they use a lot of different tools at their disposal to put stress on the defense. So we got to get lined up. We got to know where to put our eyes, and we got to execute at a high level. So that's like, any game you have to do that. But with these guys, they try to, kind of get you off the scent, so to speak. So we got to be on it.
What started, so I noticed that Kyron was inactive. What does he have to do to be able to be back on the field and be part of the special teams?
It all goes down to what the week is right there for the most part. It's one of those things that you never know who's going to be up, who's going to be down. We have these conversations starting with the head man and Howie, and they do a great job with it. It's just one of those things, it's a numbers game at times, and he was awesome all week, and he's done nothing but great things for us, and he's going to keep getting better and better.
Christian obviously got promoted. He's played well on special teams. What does that mean for you as a coach when you see somebody get elevated from the practice squad? Has been such a big impact on special teams.
Yeah, it's more, I think I've alluded to this before, just Christian being ready to do what he needs to do to get on this, to get on the active roster. And, when his name was called, he took the advantage of it, and he made a lot of big plays, especially in the early on Tennessee, New York Giants game, and he's done a great job getting us ready early on in the season when he was on practice squad, and he's played a couple of different positions for us. And in this league, the more you can do, the longer longevity you have in this league. So it's more just Christian, being ready whenever his number was called and taking advantage of that opportunity.
What's your assessment of how the special teams unit did against Dallas?
Pretty boring game, if you ask. I think you had 4 really graded plays. It was okay. Nothing, glaring right there. Obviously, that kickoff coverage, we got the holding. Guys were playing fast. We got one guy got out of the lane, and when you have a guy like Turpin, he could hit it, as fast as anybody in this league right there. So it's something to clean up right there. But when you play fast, you put the pressure on the kickoff return team. I think kickoff return is one of the hardest things in the NFL. You get a guy running, 60 yards full speed and trying to get a block right there. And Kayvon did a good job. He got held in that lane right there, but we still got to clean up our lane integrity to slow a returner like Turpin down. But like I said, didn't have a punt, obviously. I only had 1 punt return, then, a lot of touchbacks and a lot of field goals and field goal blocks. I thought the rush team did a really good job. BG squeaked through on one of that PATs right there and almost got his hand on one. Thought the protection was really clean on field goal, and it was a huge field goal going into the half by Jake. The operation was really good. The big guys up there, they stood their ground against a pretty good unit. So if you had asked me, it was kind of like an incomplete day, boring day, but as a special teams coach, boring is always good.
What are those days like for you and the specialists when it is a boring game like that?
You got to stay ready. You never know what's going to happen, especially a divisional game like that with that magnitude. You got to be ready for anything. You got to be ready to punt. You got to be ready for kickoff, field goal. You can't just kind of get in a lull and forget something. That's how you get beat right there. So the guys are always locked in. They're always asking questions. Hey, what are you thinking here? What direction do we want to go? So it's easy when you got guys so locked in that anything that happens, they're ready for.
Austin's done a decent enough job the last few weeks as the kick returner, and he took one out of the end zone, which we haven't been used to seeing, I guess, in most of these games. Did you give him the green light there because he's been effective the last few weeks?
Yeah, we give our guys parameters on when to take it out, and in between those white lines, I'm not the one taking the ball out. So if he feels confident enough in the blockers to get out, that's on him. But we also have parameters. Like if you're running sideways, probably just to set it down right there. But Boston's done a really good job, and the guys blocking for him, giving him some open lanes right there to get past the 25 at times. We still want to be smart, with how high-powered our offense is in terms of, at times you just got to be smart, set it down, let the offense take over at the 25. But if you feel good about it, the lower hang time, the ball's not in a corner right there, and you feel like you have a two-way go, yeah, let's go out and try to get a return right there. But there is parameters that we tell our guys and everything like that. So for Boston, trust him enough. He's a veteran guy. If he feels good about it, cool. If not, set it down. We'll get the next one.
Coach, with so much on the line this week, part of your message, to expand on that question, was about staying within yourself, not taking chances when you don't have to, with so much on the line. People may want to try to take a chance to make an impact.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like anything else from week 1 to week now, week 16, week 17, whatever the week is. We always want to, stay as steady as possible, stay within yourself. We always preach, hey, just do your job. If you do your job, everything else will take care of itself right there. We don't need to be superheroes and everything like that. It's worked for us thus far in terms of what our record is right now. If we keep doing our job and, we take pride in doing our job to the best of our abilities, it'll all take care of itself come Sunday afternoon.
We obviously haven't seen much of Brett in game so far. What have you seen in practice as he has advertised?
Oh, Brett, I mean, when you don't just get a 14-year career for just being, just an average. Brett's been awesome with the guys, getting that chemistry with Rick and Jake in terms of the operation for field goal, because you can see how important 3 points is or an extra point is nowadays, especially in bad weather games. And, across the league, there was just Mother Nature's undefeated, and guys had to go through it. But Brett's been awesome communicating, learning more about him more than anything else, what he feels comfortable about, what's his go-to ball and everything. He's been outstanding, and he's been a real pleasure to have in our room right there, just to, plug and play right there. So looking for the opportunity. But again, when you don't have to punt, not a bad thing.
We don't talk about Rick a lot because you don't notice the long snapper when he's doing his job, but he was an alternate again in the Pro Bowl, and you guys have gone through the punting, which is the holding. How important is it to have that steadiness at his position?
Oh yeah, Rick makes the thing go right there. If he's able to snap a good ball over the spot without, the holder having to turn laces, it makes that operation so much cleaner. And Rick's done an outstanding job with the 2 years I've had with him. He's awesome. Rick is one of those guys, he's an acquired taste, but he's hilarious. When you come in this building, you see Rick, he sits in that chair right there with an iced coffee, no matter what the degree is, and he's the same Rick. And he takes pride in his job. He's the first one out of our punt period to go look at the tablet to see what the rush was. After field goal, what his snaps are like right there. So it's one of those hidden things where Rick is such a master at his craft. It makes it easier for everyone else to get their job done. So I'm very fortunate to have Rick and have a long snapper just as good as Rick right there. He's done an amazing job, and we'll keep this thing going for a little bit with Rick right there.
We good? Can you talk about the Saints and what they do on special teams?
Yeah, Saints, another opponent that they have some guys that could really go. Rashid Shaheed, the rookie out of Weber State. I mean, the guy could roll right there. I know he's been, getting a lot of burn on offense, but he could do the same on kickoff return and punt return. Taysom Hill, he brings a little bit different in terms of the PP, where you got to be wary of, running fakes and everything. I mean, he's a quarterback back there, but he's just a really good football player. He'll stick his face in the fan right there. He's a really good rusher on their punt return, so we got to be locked in to whatever they do. And, as we have Christian on our team, his brother Caden's a special teams player as well, and he's a pretty good one. So Rizzy does a really good job of getting these guys to play. Very fortunate enough that I played under Rizzy in Miami for a cup of coffee and just to understand what his mentality is and how the players play to such a high level is because he cares about his players, and it shows on film. So we got to be ready for a big opportunity and a big challenge in the Saints. They've been really good on special teams for a long time now, so we got to make sure we're locked in and being able to go against a very good unit like they are.
What were some of your big takeaways from how Gardner played?
I thought Gardner was really efficient throwing the football. He got the ball to his hands quickly, really efficient on third down, made some really good plays. That 4th and 2, he hit to DeVonta, he was coming out, and we had Dallas in the flat, and Diggs passed it off and tried to take Dallas, and he snapped around, flipped his hips, and hit the big one. And then the third down to DeVonta in the red zone versus blitz zero was really good too. He had off coverage right there, and liked what he saw, and DeVonta ran a great red and laid it just out in front for him to catch it. So overall, really strong performance by him, I thought.
As good as DeVonta was last year and early this year, seems like he's kind of taken things to another level the last month or so. Has he shown you anything during this stretch that you didn't know about him?
No, I mean, nothing surprised me with him. He's an elite receiver, and those guys that work and grind every week to get themselves ready to play are gonna do good things, and that's what he's been doing. And he's continuing to grow as a receiver. He's seen it well, the coverages, how to adjust his route in certain coverages and find the dead spots and the holes. And then he's making elite catches. I mean, he had some big-time catches on the end cut. He had one on the sideline, and just having awareness where the sideline is and getting both feet down, he's been very impressive.
Hey Shane, the fact that you guys might face Dallas again in the postseason, how much does that go into your thinking as you're prepping for a game? As you want to show them something so you can show a counter later, or you don't want to show them something?
Yeah, I think really in any game you go in and you do what you need to do to win the football game, and I think that's our mindset in every game. It's like, oh, do I not want to show this because we might face them again? No, like you got to do what you need to do to win the game. But then obviously, looking at the film, it's like if we do face these guys again in the playoffs, like what can we do to counter the stuff that we did against them in previous games?
On the 2 interceptions, Shane, was there any sort of teaching points on both ends of that, Gardner's and Quest?
Yeah, I mean, it was the one on the slant. I mean, that was a really good play by the DB. I mean, it was a bang play. Credit to them in that situation. And the other one was just like a little pivot over the ball. I mean, it was just off by a little bit, and sometimes those things happen, and we know that we got to get those things cleaned up. I mean, when you turn it over 4 times and put our defense in bad situations, like we did with short fields, we know that we can't do that, and that's one of our formulas is not, taking care of the football, and we didn't do a good enough job doing that.
We saw Jalen had the headset on during the game. Was he just listening? Was he putting input in what he was saying?
Yeah, he's just listening, just like most quarterbacks are out. They always all have a little earpiece in or headset on and listen to the calls.
Would you have done anything differently on those last 3 throws?
Yeah, you know what? In those situations, you always look back like, shoot, could we have called this? Could I have called this in this situation here? And there's a few things where, obviously we clocked it there, and then it was 2nd and 10, and I went with, hey, I think they're going to be in this coverage, so this is a good all-around beater for the coverages that I think they're going to play. And just more so, like, instead of guessing, like, oh, they might be in 0 here, they might be in this, like, hey, what's a play that's going to be a good pure progression to where he's got answers? And they played it well. Credit to them defensively.
What's the benefit of clocking it as opposed to you probably could have called time around 0:38 and had four shots?
Yeah, I think right there you can save your timeout in that situation. I thought it was the right decision there to clock it right there, and then you got 3 downs there, and obviously if you get a first down inside the 10 or whatever, now you call your timeout, and then you got 3 shots, so that's just the way we went with it.
Without Lane, you guys have a couple options, obviously.
Yeah.
What do you weigh in making that decision?
Those are things we'll work through this week. We feel good about our options, and obviously we'll work through that, and I know Stout will have those guys ready to play.
Just being out, change the game planning approach.
We're gonna do what we do. Same deal.
Dallas has the best catch rate in the NFL.
Yeah.
Amongst receivers and tight ends, and obviously he's coming back, he's
Yeah.
injured, but were they doing anything to take him away, and why do you only have 3 targets?
Well, he had 3 catches. I mean, we had a lot more schemed up for him, and sometimes the coverage dictates where the ball goes, and so that's what happened on a few of those plays. He was the first read in the progression, like even the third down where Gardner scrambled out there. I mean, DeVonta was the 4th read in that progression, and he ended up getting the catch there, and Dallas was the first progression. And same thing on another third down, Dallas was the first progression, and we threw the ball to the back. So, like, there are certain times, obviously, the coverage is going to dictate where it goes.
How did you walk away feeling about, the offensive performance and, the game planning and all that? Was there anything that you walk away with thinking you would have done a little bit differently, or were you just generally pleased with it?
I mean, pleased for the most part. There's always things you can clean up and do better, you know, and the biggest thing is we got to take care of the football. I mean, that's number one thing, number one goal every week is we can't turn the football over, and we know that when you turn the ball over 4 times, you're probably not going to win the game. So we got to do a good job taking care of the football going forward.
Do you think Dallas played you a lot differently without Jalen, especially, I guess, in the run game, not having that threat on sort of the backside?
Yeah, I mean, they did some different things, but most of their scheme was similar from a coverage standpoint. But credit to them, they played good, and they got it done. We got to do a better job.
How do you go about this week in terms of quarterback distribution?
Yeah, I mean, same as last week. It's day by day. We're working through those things. If Jalen's ready to play, he'll play, but we got to have a plan for both of those guys.
Is there any coaching point for Miles with the 2 fumbles over the past 2 weeks?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing we talk about. It's just, wrist above the elbow, eagle claw, elbow lock when you're going through traffic. But he'll bounce back, and he'll have a good game this week.
Well, let's say what happened with the exchange between Gardner and Austin.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. We went back and looked at it. I mean, it was really it was a fluke thing, but we got to continue to work on the ball handling. We work on ball handling a ton, but we got to do it more.
I think that Jalen could glean from watching just having a week off and watching Gardner and how he executed the offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can always learn from anybody, right? If you're not playing, you can learn from those situations, anything that comes up in the game, certain, coverages, blitzes, all those different things. But, yeah, you can always learn.
Good.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys.